Many models try to describe the journey a group embarks upon when attempting to understand a complex problem, explaining the struggle to integrate different perspectives in order to reach a point where they can make a decision they all rally behind. The Groan Zone is one of those models. Many times, reaching a decision is pretty straightforward. The group easily recognizes the problem, the options are few, the problem domain simple, and little risk is involved. Other times it's far less straightforward. The problem is complex with many unknowns. Many people want to be involved, each one bringing their needs and concerns, beliefs and experiences. In these cases, the group has a longer journey to embark upon in order to reach a strong outcome. That journey is described by the Groan Zone model. No model is true or accurate, but I found this one to be very useful and valuable for me as an Agile coach and as a facilitator. It helps me both plan the workshop and to adopt in the moment to meet the needs of the group. This is the first episode out of 2 about the Groan Zone. In this episode, we'll explore how to recognize the Groan Zone. In the next episode, we'll discuss how to help a group or a team navigate through the Groan Zone. This is still a very young channel, so I'm desperate for all your likes. And if you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing. It would truly mean so much to me. Enough said, let's dive in. When the path forward isn't obvious, or when a decision doesn't emerge naturally after some discussion, that's when we invite to a meeting or a workshop. The hope is that if we can state the problem or opportunity and then invite to a discussion, we can be smart together and reach a decision we firmly can act upon. But depending on how we have these discussions, the strength of the decision can vary greatly. Let's compare strong and weak outcomes. To ensure that the result of the workshop actually has an impact, that the change is implemented and sustainable, or that new behaviors are adopted, you need to aim for a strong outcome. A discussion that results in a strong outcome has the following properties. Inclusive. All those who are impacted by the decision feel they were involved in the conversation that led up to the decision. They feel that they were heard and took part in a fair decision process. Win-win. The decision is good for everyone. Everyone feels that their needs and concerns have been properly addressed. Commitment. Everyone feels that everyone else left the meeting with as much commitment as I myself. We all want to execute on the decision and to do what is needed to see it through. Clear. What needs to be done next is clearly stated. The result leaves little or no room for interpretation. You know you reached a weak outcome when the meeting is over, the decision has been made, and then nothing happens. Some people seem eager to implement the decision, while others reject or ignore it, causing friction and conflicts between individuals. When you have a weak outcome, one or more of the following has probably happened. Exclusive. Some people feel excluded from the dialogue, not heard, or that they weren't involved in a fair decision-making process. Win-lose. Some people feel that the decision made doesn't include or cater for their needs and concerns, and that their motivation or work will suffer as a consequence. Indifference. Some suspect that others won't follow through on the decision. They might feel, well, if others don't commit, why should I? Fuzzy. What happens next is unclear, expectations are vague, the decision and path forward is wide open to interpretation. Obviously, we prefer strong outcomes. But how do we get there? What's the path to a decision? Many times, inviting people together to discuss and agree upon a decision or a path forward is undramatic. We state the problem, invite to discussion, we explore options, agree upon a decision, and then we execute on that decision. But sometimes the discussion explodes in never-ending debates. We get stuck in opinion trenches. We fail to reach a shared conclusion. Sometimes people involved might argue that it's because the problem itself is complex and hard to understand. If you believe that, you're fooling yourself and avoiding the true challenge, at least according to me. The struggle to reach shared understanding isn't primarily made harder due to the nature of the problem itself. The struggle is all about building that shared understanding. And that becomes harder for every person you add to the dialogue. Each person that joins the conversation increases complexity. Each person you add brings a set of needs and concerns. They need the proposal, decision, or plan forward to take those into consideration. And we all have a different set of beliefs. Beliefs of what's important, what's right and wrong, how the business works, what the user really wants, or how to get stuff done efficiently. Furthermore, we all base our reasoning on different past experiences. One person might argue that this or that will work because they've tried it many times before. Someone else have tried it once, and in that case it failed miserably. This is what makes it hard and complicated. We, the participants, not the problem itself. A common model that describes the journey from a problem statement to a decision might look like this. Once we've stated the problem and what we want to accomplish, we explore. We explore options and alternatives. We list risks and raise concerns. We collect facts and data. The diverge phase. Once we've put all the cards on the table and presented alternatives, we try to narrow it down to one proposal that we can agree upon. We might iterate on ideas, try to find inclusive alternatives. Perhaps we try to strengthen the good ideas. Sometimes a creative reframing, seeing things from another perspective, helps us forward. We combine and rule out until we all are in agreement. However, fooling people into believing that it's always possible to simply jump from the divergent phase to the convergent phase is almost evil and doesn't prepare the group for the actual hard work. The hard work to reach a shared understanding, and the shared understanding of the different needs and concerns in the group. This struggle is called the Groan Zone. Sometimes it's undramatic, and sometimes it will really test the perseverance in the group to the limit. Let's discuss the different phases of the Groan Zone. And I will do that from the perspective of a workshop facilitator. During the initial phase of the conversation, the topic or the problem is stated. As a facilitator, this is where you welcome everyone to the room, you set the stage, lay the foundation for upcoming discussions and decision making. You might have some kind of check-in or icebreaker. You describe the purpose of the gathering and paint a clear and descriptive goal of the workshop. You explain the structure of the workshop, what will happen and in which order. You might capture expectations and what each participant thinks is important for the workshop to be successful. Once the problem and goal has been stated, the conversation enters the diverge phase. This phase revolves around exploration of options and gathering of facts and ideas. As a facilitator, you might engage the group in exercises with the purpose of gathering different points of views, collect opinions and ideas, explore alternatives, survey risks and concerns, list facts and data. As a facilitator, it's important to remind the group to defer judgment until later. The purpose is to explore and search for alternatives, not to shoot down every suggestion that you might have a concern with. Before a group can transition from the diverge phase into the converge phase, they need to replace their competing frames of references and needs with a shared framework of understanding for the problem and the context. This can require extensive discussions, argumentation, and debates. These can be very energy-consuming and intense, hence the name Groan Zone. The Groan Zone is the effort of replacing competing frames of references with a shared framework of understanding. Another way of saying the same thing, you know that you're in the beginning of the Groan Zone, when everyone is busy thinking hard and long on how to best present their own arguments in a convincing way, instead of listening to what others have to say. People's need to have their own needs and concerns understood by everyone, combined with premature conclusions about others' needs, hampers the group's ability to have a constructive dialogue. When people bring different perspectives and beliefs, this is the only possible starting point. Your job as a facilitator is to help the group through this with facilitation and structure. You know that you're out of the groan zone when the discussion shifts from arguments over problems, perspectives and needs into discussions on how to move forward. When the group look for alternatives that caters for the needs and concerns of everyone involved. Furthermore, when you trust that others understands your concerns and needs, you will sincerely listen to their proposals, since you know that their suggestions incorporates your perspectives. When this happens, the group has established a shared framework of understanding, and the conversation naturally moves into the converge phase. Activities you might do here to help the group build a shared understanding are exercises that helps to create a shared context, promote and seek understanding, explore the needs of others, build empathy, seeing things from others' perspective. When the group has left the groan zone, the conversation enters the converge phase. Now that they've reached a shared understanding of the problem and context, the group will see the alternatives and options from a new perspective. This is a time when you as a facilitator can help the group by allowing for iteration of ideas, search for inclusive alternatives, or find ways to strengthen or synthesize already good ideas. Sometimes the group needs help to hash out proposals by exploring possible benefits and dangers and risks in order to find the alternative that is best for the whole group. When one or several clear, inclusive and win-win proposals have emerged, the group's conversation transitions to the closure phase, in which final decisions are made. We summarize and wrap up. Maybe we strengthen the commitment of the decision by repeating and summarizing it. We go through action points to ensure that they are clear. We might go through open and parked topics in order to figure out how to proceed with them. You might choose to do an evaluation of the workshop itself, a mini retrospective, asking people to reflect on what was most valuable for them, or to summarize their key insights to the whole group, might help to even further strengthen the commitment. That was a brief summary of the different phases of the groan zone, and as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it's a real energy drainer. Making your concerns and needs heard, while at the same time truly listen to what others have to say so that you can understand their perspectives and points of view, is really, really hard. Some common feelings participants might experience in the groan zone: frustration that others don't understand you, can't see what you see, or that your arguments aren't listened to. Confusion over how the different perspectives and arguments are relevant to the context and the problem. Boredom when you feel that you have understood and see a clear path forward, but others are stuck in debates and arguments. Anxiety over where the discussion will lead and the potential consequences of that for you and your work. Will I like how this ends? These are all telltale signs that the group is deep in the groan zone. These feelings are perfectly normal and the natural byproduct of the struggle to reach a shared understanding in the group. However, all these feelings, stress and fear, doesn't exactly make us better listeners. That's why getting through the groan zone can be a true struggle. But if it is crucial that we reach a strong outcome, a shared agreement that we all commit on, we need to find a way to navigate through it, to muster the necessary energy to get to the other side. And that's what we will be discussing in part 2, navigating the groan zone. How can you, as a facilitator, support this journey? Sorry for the cliffhanger, but you're all welcomed back for that one. The diamond of participatory decision-making, which I referred to as the Groan Zone model in this video, is described by Sam Kainer in his book Facilitator's Guide to Participatory Decision Making. It doesn't only discuss the Groan Zone in more depth, it also contains tons of different workshop formats, tips and advice. I can highly recommend it. And while on the topic of books, if you want to buy a copy of my own books, Visualization Examples or Decision-Making Principles and Practices, head over to my website and enter my shop. You can buy them both in physical and digital form. If you haven't already seen last week's episode, it's a lean coffee where me and 3 colleagues and friends discuss various current topics on anything Agile. Great fun. Until next time, explore, have fun, be safe.